to mark a new beginning. We are the ones of the spoken word. We are the ones who keep the planet spinning. And yes, one day we will rule the world.
Is he frozen? Is he frozen? I was just sat there.
It looks like you, doesn't it?
Looks like it's down to me to do the intro then. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation, the home of the Euro show, Euro 2020, 2021. I think Side's having a few technical difficulties like he did at the start of the last show. First and foremost, thanks to everybody who's going to tune in. Obviously, we're just on the back of the Wales game. Obviously, going to cover that. I start off with a huge thank you to our guest who's coming on the show, Mr. Rhodri Giggs. Rhodri, huge thank you for coming on.
No, pleasure, mate. Glad to be on.
Listen. Obviously, while Side comes back on and we dig deep into the game what's just been on. What's your thoughts on the tournament as a whole so far? Have you been impressed? Is it better than what you thought? Worse than what you imagined?
Well, usually, Andy, you know yourself, these tournaments usually take a little bit to get going, but some of the games seem to be decent to watch, and it's just getting better and better now. So we're just getting into the thick of it now. When the second, the third games start going in, they start getting real games now. So it was a Wales-Turkey one was a good watch, even though it was nervous watch. It should have been, like we talked before we come on, we should have been way ahead. But the game's coming good now, and they're good to watch.
But we spoke obviously at the start about the preview about teams maybe he's not hitting peak form, and then obviously Italy played the first game, and I thought they were fantastic. And teams who've Belgium, Holland probably overachieved. Portugal looked like they started really strong. You know what I mean? Is there scope for these kind of teams to get better, or are we seeing the best of the Frances? Are we seeing the best of the Belgium? Can they consistently continue that throughout the tournament?
Yeah, I think they can. The teams that you mentioned, they're quality throughout. So, you know yourself when you play with players more, you get to know them better. And some of these players have played together for a long time. That's why they've probably hit the ground running. So, it can only get better. And to answer your question, I think they can get better. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a scary thought, surely, because you know what I mean.
Exactly.
We watched France yesterday. I thought they were outstanding. I watched Belgium without the two best players, by the way. Should I mention? You know what I mean? De Bruyne and Hazard, Ronaldo, 2 goals. You know, and listen, the whole tournament as a possibility to be brilliant, and all I ask is the home nations to be in there with a fighting chance to be competitive. You know what I mean? Because it's a big ask to be still in it. Never mind trying to win it. You know what I mean? England's expectations are higher than Wales. Scotland have got a big ask, but it's just the expectation about keeping them real, right?
Yeah, it's just a pity Scotland had the bad result because, you know, for being out of the competition for a major competition for over 20 years, you know, you'd want them to do well, but they've struggled really. Yeah. You'd think they would do better with the team they've got and the year extra that they've had to be together and to get that more experience at the higher leagues. But yeah, it's just a shame. But yeah, England will qualify easy, and looks like Wales have now as well. So it's just a pity Scotland didn't. Well, they still can. They can still beat England and win the third game, but it's a big ask, especially at Wembley.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a big ask. I think the one good thing is that Scotland have got in their favour, as I said the other day, is that it's different to any other game they're going to play. It's like a derby, and sometimes derbies throw up, you know, interesting performances and results. But you know, on paper,
England. You can only look at the 1996. That was a competitive game. You know, if it wasn't for a David Seaman penalty, that could have been Scotland's win very easily, and a world-class goal from Gaza. So, and you look at them teams, they were chalk and cheese if you go by every player. So you're right, and you've got some big game players in there. McTominay's played big game, Barcelona, European Cup finals, man of the match for Man United. So, and you've got McGinn, you've got some other good players in there. So they have got a chance, but like I say, it's a big ask at Wembley because you know England look like they've got strength in depth as well. You know, Grealish didn't play, Rashford didn't play. You know, they've got a wealth of talent.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Sancho's even in the squad.
Yeah, that's it. And I think the one thing I think they might struggle with Scotland is scoring goals. Like they missed a few chances the other day. And then I saw Lee Griffiths is sitting in the stands. He's not even in the squad. Like I know he's been out a long time, but that's a big, like you need goal scorers, don't you? And I think that's their main guy, which makes it problematic.
Like I say, it's a big ask, but you know, like you said, it's a derby, so you know it's going to be tight. Well, you'd hope Scotland will keep it tight, and if you keep it tight, then anything can happen. But you know, if England get an early goal, it's going to be a long afternoon.
Yeah, 100%. So Andy, what did you think of Wales's overall performance versus Turkey?
Overall performance, I thought was absolutely fantastic. I think we spoke, didn't we, on Monday about team selections, tactics, and making changes or keeping the same formation, keeping the same team. And I thought it was a very brave decision by Pagey to keep the same 11 because I think it was dying out for a few fresh faces and dying out for a few tactical tweaks here and there. But I think he made a brave call. And the start that the players made, you know, I mean, I spoke about the start that they made over the weekend in the first 2 or 3 minutes. Today they were better, but for longer. You know, I mean, they continued their attacking probably for 6, 7, 8 minutes, and how they weren't 1, 2, if not 3-0 up in the first 7, 8 minutes. I think it's a travesty. And the problem that Wales have is that final touch and that final finish. And for me, I think it was so disappointing that they didn't get the rewards for their play. But I'm so glad we got the result. I'm so glad that Pagey's he looked a relieved man after the game. He looked his coaching staff looked a relieved team, and I believe, you know, I mean, I don't believe that the shell shocked or the shock that they've got there. I just think it's a relief which on the players and the nation and each other, the pressure they put them on themselves. Turned out to be a good result. I think I thought Gareth Bale, I thought Aaron Ramsey, who I was quite critical of the first game. Along with some of the other big players in the home nations, like Harry Kane, for example, who didn't turn up on the first game. I thought they came to the park today, and I thought were absolutely phenomenal from 1 minute to the end. I thought they were brilliant. How did you think the game went, Rhodri? How do you think they started? Were you surprised with Robert Page's team selection? Were you surprised with how they set up?
We were talking a couple of days ago about how I was going to set up, and will he have the same team? You know, it's a big call for him, and it's obviously the right call because it's got the right result. But he needs his big players to turn up. We knew that at the start, and you know, Aaron Ramsey should have had at least 2 or 3, but he's got the goal. And Gareth Bale, all right, he missed the penalty, but he set the second goal and kept going. So you can't knock him for that and his leadership. So, but it could have been a lot easier. But you've got to give credit to the manager to stick with the same team and make the changes that he did, you've got to give it to the coaching staff.
Do you think?
Are you surprised
how
much stick? How much?
Pardon? Say again.
A bit behind. He's getting. Are you surprised in terms of the stick that the manager's getting? Like Gareth Southgate got stick for not playing so-called players, and now Robert Page is getting stick for not playing certain players. And obviously, they're getting the results. Is it not a results business? And people should just wait and see how they get on before making those kind of judgments.
Yeah, when you're in camp like that, the manager's seeing everything. We're just seeing it from afar. Everyone's a football manager these days. Everyone's a coach. Everyone, has got an opinion. But these managers obviously know the players. Are seeing them day in, day out, and they're getting the right results. So we can't really question them, really. But we still do because it's what we do. But yeah, Robert Page has done a brilliant job. Same as Gareth Southgate. Robert Page threw in the deep end a little bit, a last minute change, and it's just a good job that he knew all the players. Most of the players come from under 21s, and the big players have stepped up for him.
Do you think there's something to be said for maybe moving Gareth Bale into the number 10 position rather than out wide? Because I thought he did more damage in the central areas today, obviously from the corner, but obviously his vision for Ramsey's goal, he's obviously got incredible vision and close control and things like this, but he hasn't quite got the legs to race past people like someone like Daniel James has. And obviously I think it was a moment in the first half where we had a 3-on-2 attack, and Bale just didn't have the legs to beat the defender. But I think he can do a lot of damage more centrally. Would you say that's an idea, Rhodri?
Again, it goes to the manager and what he feels is best, and what the opposition and what better place Gareth Bale would be in the team. And he's obviously picked the right one because we've got the right result. And like I say, I'd say again, it should have been 3 or 4-0, but we've got the win. The manager's done a great job. And we're into the really after the Italy game, we're into the next round. So it's plain sailing now, to be honest. So you can't really knock him. Yes, he's not as mobile as he used to be, but he can still do damage at the highest level.
Yeah, 100%.
Whether he's on the left, whether he's in the middle, whether he's on the right. Yes, he hasn't got the energy. Yeah, he's things, but you've just got to manage that, and it looks like Robert Page is doing that.
Yeah, and I also thought Morrell and Meepham, I thought they deserved a load of credit today because they got a lot of criticism, and Connor Roberts on the weekend, and I thought the 3 of them had excellent games today. And I think that shows a lot of balls to put a performance where they were at fault for a couple of the chances and the goals, and to come and put in a performance like they did today is sensational. To be honest, I was really impressed with all 3.
No, it was a massive game for him. It's a pressure situation. It's a must-win game, and they've performed. That must bode well for him in the future, give him big confidence. And the whole team here, we know Wales has got a good team spirit. We need that, and we showed that today. So, but yeah, the players you mentioned, all of them really. Ben Davies has not played many games. He come in and did a really good job. All the subs that come on did really well. Rondon sticking his head in at the end. Everyone. We need everyone to pull the part, and it looks like he did.
Yeah, 100%. And what did I thought Aaron Ramsey particularly had a sensational game today. He was quite quiet on the weekend, but again responded in the right way, didn't he?
Again, he's another player that's not played many minutes, so he might take time to get minutes under his belt. But the first game's obviously done him well, and then the second half, this game, he looked back to his old self. But he's still not going to be 100%. But if he's 100%, I'm pretty sure he sticks 2 or 3 of them away. Yeah,
that's it. Andy, what did you think of France yesterday? Oh, I just have to bring you back in, mate. For some reason, we're having all sorts of issues with connections this evening. But Andy, what did you think of France yesterday, particularly?
I thought the game plan was phenomenal. I thought the Champs City came out. I think there was a rise in Benzema. Brought him back, and I thought held him out a little bit and brought him to the bench and just brought him in slowly potentially. But I thought Mbappe, was phenomenal. I thought his pace was frightening every time he got the ball. A little bit like James today, that they give him in the areas that he wants it. They can't handle it. You know what I mean? The Germans are renowned for the defending, but they just couldn't handle him at all. Every time he got the ball, they were scared to death of him. The goal he scored, which was offside, was amazing. I just think that we're going to see an amazing tournament from the best players in the world. And you know what I mean? And I know talk off air about Pogba. I thought Pogba came to the party, but he's been to the party all season with United. But Rhodri said at the beginning about it's easy when you've got next year, and I agree. He's the best player in the world who's your protector, and when you've got a protector next year, then you're in a zone where you can go and attack and not have any concerns or worries behind you. And he played with that. He played with that no fear. I thought defensively, I thought they were very strong. I thought the recent goal, I thought was fantastic. He came for every cross. He was very brave. Yes, there was a couple of half chances from Germany, but there's a lot coming. But I think dangerous with more to come. That's been for the rest of the nations, and that's worrying for England especially because the way that the draw is potentially going to pan out. If France continue the way they are in the group stage, and England hit them, it's going to be very dangerous for English football. But to potentially try and get past that, because I don't see any weaknesses in it.
Yeah, and Rhodri, with France, I think I saw a few people on social media, and I just saw a couple of comments there saying, didn't think they were that great. But for me, it's the opponents that they were playing against, and they were still pretty good.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, it's absolute nonsense. They're playing Germany, and they're just playing them off the park. It's very comfortable, really, and not really playing that great, and still won comfortably. So yeah, look out, really. So yeah, they look scary, and they've got the same with England. Really, they've got a team that could play 2 11s, but French look a bit more solid at the back than England. So if they played England, you'd worry at the back.
Yeah, 100%.
I think, Si, if I was picking a team now to win it off what I've seen so far, the ball, because everyone's played once, England wouldn't even be in my top 5, and I think that's probably the concerning bit. Not for me as a person, I'm not expecting England to win it. I'm expecting to get to the quarter semis at least. But for a team like France, a team have shown one game and the potential that they've got to push on and kick on with the squads that they've got and the players that they've got and the way that they played as a team against some good nations, either in Russia, away from home for Belgium, or in Germany, against Germany, who don't get the respect that they deserve from me. And I think that's disrespectful. Rhodri just said it there. They played against the Germans away from home in Munich. They dominated the game, start to finish. A couple of edgy things. German defending, the attack. Legs are gone a little to support the way he did. Ganabi quiet, not off. He's got Lewandowski playing with him at Bayern Munich. It's a difficult national team when you're playing with different players week in, week out, because their club sides are better than their national teams.
Yeah, 100%. Rhodri, just out of interest, who did you fancy before the tournament to win it?
France.
So has that changed at all? Have you seen anyone who you fancy?
Well, you've got to look at Belgium and think, but then you look at Portugal and think. So Portugal, Belgium, or France, I'd be very, very surprised if the winner come and it wasn't one of them 3. But probably England as well. But just worry of England, at the back. If they played France, would they play a 3 at the back and then play Kyle Walker to cancel out Mbappe? But then you've got still Maguire that they can. He's not the quickest though. You just worry with England at the back, but France. Then you're going to look at Italy. It's looked really, really good. Mancini had a well-drilled, really good team. So there's Italy as well. So you can't forget about them. Plus they'll be at home. So it's a tough one. It's a really tough one. But they're the 4 that you think.
Do you reckon, Andy? Do you reckon Italy will make changes for that Wales game now if they beat Switzerland tonight?
I believe they'll give a couple of players a game. I think they might have some players who need the match fitness. They might have somebody who they don't want to risk a yellow card for. There might be different circumstances. They might want to try a different shape, formation, etc. Because they're already through. They might strategically not want to win the group. Don't know. There's pyramids that can go across the board that people have tried to do or do. One thing Rhodri said there about how good Italy were, they were so good, they were so fit. That was one thing that I picked up from that game. They were so fit. They're running from the minute 1 to the minute 90. And that was the 35-year-old centre-halves to the 19-year-old fullbacks. You know what I mean? They were absolutely phenomenal. And that's one thing that you can't drum into a player is the desire to want to keep a clean sheet. The desire to want to run through your country. You know what I mean? Like some players today, watch the Wales game, they looked like they cared. They looked like they wanted to run through a brick wall for every one of their fans back home and every one of their fans in Baku. You know what I mean? Some people look like they're laid back and they don't care, but you know what I mean? The Italy players for me were fantastic. I believe Mancini will. He'll utilise his squad. He has to utilise the squad because you can't keep the same squad, the same 11 for 6-7 games of a tournament. So I believe he'll mix it up for the Wales game if they win tonight. I fully expect him to win tonight. And then it'll just the Wales game, but then I fully expect Payne to make some changes as well because I don't think that he can keep them side and play as attacking as he did today and go into that kind of tournament and go into the following stages on a potential heavy defeat. You know what I mean? For me, I think he needs to shore things up a little bit and maybe go a little bit more defensive. Maybe play the false 9 and save a Kiefer Moore, who took a little bit of a battering today, by the way, with a few headshots and a few over.
And he's on a booking as well.
Things and makes you appeal into the late. Yeah, careful.
Yeah. The other thing, Rhodri, with Wales' final game in the group stage is you've got Kiefer Moore on a booking, but you've also got Joe Allen, Aaron Ramsey, Gareth Bale, and there's, I think, one or two others who've barely played football this year. So it does seem like that would be the game to maybe either rest them completely or rest them for half, just to keep them fresh. And in Kiefer Moore's case, you don't want him to be banned for the knockout stage.
Kiefer Moore, I think you've got to wrap him in cotton wool because, he's probably the one player that would probably miss the most because, he's a focal point up there. You miss Bale and Ramsey as well, but I think, you've got players that can kind of do a job for him there. But, Kiefer Moore's been brilliant up there. So we need to keep him in cotton wool. But, you've got to look at the game tonight and see how it goes. Switzerland are more than capable of beating Italy or getting a draw. So you've just got to keep an eye on that game and then just take it from there and see what happens after that game. We're pretty much through, but do we want to win the group or do we want to come second? That's what Page has got to think about now.
Yeah, I saw a comment. I did just put it up on screen. I think it was from Craig. He said, if Wales win the group, they go to Wembley. If they go, say if they're second, they got to travel to Amsterdam. I think either way is better than travelling out to Baku and playing in that heat.
We'll be in Italy at that point, won't we? So for the Italy game, because we play in Italy, so it's not too far, Amsterdam, Italy, or back to here. So that helps. It helps a lot because travelling, Andy will tell you, as a footballer, travelling, it don't know why, it just takes it out of you. So especially if you're playing games every 3 or 4 games in 90-degree heat, it's going to take its toll on you. So traveling's not great.
It is brutal. Apologies, guys, about the connection. I don't know why, but StreamYard does not like Andy this evening. It just keeps booting him out and in and out. We'll try and get it sorted as we're going. But just while it seems we got you here for the first time of a few shows, Rhodri, kind of get your overall takes on the tournament so far, just players who've stuck out or moments, teams, whatever it may be. Kind of interested in how you've seen it overall.
I was just talking with Andy before when you got cut off. They usually start slow, these tournaments, but this one seemed to, the first couple of games weren't great, but then they seem to have got into it really well and they're enjoyable games to watch. So, and they're only going to get better because when it gets to knockout stuff, it gets really edgy and you see games teams going for it instead of being defensive. So I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. It always helps when you've got your own country in there doing well. So, but yeah, I'm enjoying it, to be fair. And like I say, it's only getting better. There's lots of goals. There's lots of goals, good goals. Not just any tap-ins. There's some good goals. The Ukrainian one, the guy who scored against Slovakia. There's been some really good goals as well.
Yeah, and I think overall it's been enjoyable, hasn't it? I think that obviously Saturday was brutal to watch, and we discussed that at length on Monday's show. But I want to kind of just fly through some of the games which we've had since Monday's show. So obviously you had the 8 o'clock game on Monday, which was, as I bring up my thing, what was that? It was
Germany-France.
Germany-France, yeah. Of course, I'm getting my days mixed up. So we talked about that a little bit. What about the Germans, though, Andy? Like, how do you see kind of the way they performed? Would you be worried if you were a German fan, or like me and you, Andy, have got Germany in our sweepstake? So, what did you think of them overall?
I don't think you can judge him against the French. I don't think you can judge him against the Portuguese. You know what I mean? They've got an unbelievable tough group. Got a really hard group. Do I believe they'll get through it? It's going to be a tough now. First game, so important to not lose. Important getting something from them. We weren't get them. There's a shoe in because
I'm not sure what's going on with the connection there, mate. I don't know what it is. It keeps kicking him out, and then he'll come back in, and he'll be all right for a second, and then his connection just goes really fuzzy, and don't know what's going on.
I'll answer his question. What was the question?
I was just going to say, like, from Germany's point of view, like, what did you think of their performance?
They're in a bad group.
Yeah.
Hungary obviously are going to be the whipping boys, so they've just got to hope. Well, they've still got Portugal and Hungary to play, but you'd think they'd beat Hungary, and then they've got to cross the fingers and hopefully get in for the third place. If they don't get a good result against Portugal, they could easily beat Portugal. We're talking about Germany here. We're not talking about no scrubs. So they've got good history in these tournaments, so you can't really put them out of it already. So it's a tough group, but they're more than capable than beating Portugal, and Portugal more than capable of beating France. So when you've got Ronaldo on your side, you can beat anyone. So it's a tough group, and that group's got a long way to go yet. So even though France did look really good, there's still.
It's such a hard group, isn't it?
Yeah,
when you got like Portugal in there, it's
and Germany, and like I say, Hungary are no mugs, but I think they're going to be the whipping boys in that group.
Yeah, this is unfortunate for them, isn't it? Really, like there's not much they can do. But easily, though, you could also see Germany beating Portugal, or them all beating each other, and it suddenly makes that group so interesting going into that last game.
Yeah, you could easily have all 4 teams on 4 points. So yeah, it can easily go that way. And yeah, it's like I say, there's a long way to go in that group yet.
Yeah, 100%, mate. What I'll do is I will go to the next game. So, did you watch the game earlier today, which was the Finland-Russia, wasn't it?
No, I caught little bits of it. I was on the golf course, but I caught little bits of it.
Did you catch that, and the Finland-Russia game earlier on, or were you in work?
No, I've seen the highlights, and to be honest, I think Finland have. Listen, we spoke, didn't we, about the Denmark game, about the effects. You don't know about the after as well, and for me, they look like a little bit of a hangover from something that might be the game, and I mean it's a lot of a player mentally and physically. You've been holding a game of for me, it affected them in a bigger way. Sure, the better side, they've created more chances, the better chances, and it really opens that group up a little bit and makes probably depending on how Belgium get on later, which will open a can of worms for everybody.
Yeah, it's all the groups have got their own sort of little stories going on, and I find it really fascinating. The group, even like Group E, where you got like Poland lost their first game to Slovakia. I was really impressed with Slovakia, and I think one of the things that Slovakia have done since the last Euros is when Wales obviously played them in the last Euros, they had a lot of aging players who looked slow and off the pace. Whereas now they've got quite a young core of a team. And I thought they really deserved to beat Poland, and they got the result. But Spain dominated Sweden without getting the 3 points. Rhodri, what did you think of Spain's overall performance? Because obviously everyone expected them to come and win, but they couldn't break they couldn't get a goal.
Yeah, it was, what was it? I think it was 83 or 84% they had in throughout the whole game. That's a lot of ball possession and not to really create much chances. So that's a worry for them, because we know how Spain can keep the ball, now they can pop it about, but you've got to put it in the back of the net, and if you can't do that, people just defend against you like the team did, and made it difficult for them. So yeah, you'd still expect Spain to go through. They don't, like I say, there's a long way to go yet. It's only played one game, but yeah, 83% is a lot for a game of football to have and not score a goal.
Yeah, they missed a lot of chances, didn't they, as well?
I think they missed. They played Morata, and the kid from Atletico Madrid's on the bench, and he scored a lot of goals. And Morata didn't look great, so maybe they changed that, because if they're getting chances, they've got to have someone to put them in the back of the net. They miss a Raul or Fernando Torres, a real top striker. But if they've got a guy who scored 20 goals in the league and won the league, surely you'd be playing him instead of Morata.
Yeah, you got to play him. You got to play those form players in tournament. So that's what I always think. Talk to me a bit about Ronaldo, mate. Obviously, he's the now all-time Euros record goal scorer, and he did it again for Portugal. He drags them through.
What can you say about him? He's just, 35, 36 years of age. He's the same age as Wayne Rooney, and Wayne Rooney's retired last year. So, and Ronaldo's still banging goals and breaking records. So, it's just a kid. You need to watch it. If you're a kid, you need to watch Ronaldo, because, you watch what he eats, watch what he drinks, and just try and emulate him. And it's difficult, because you've got to have the talent as well, but it's hard work that he puts in. It's not by accident why he scores goals and drinks water.
I love that.
It makes me laugh that, because it was a story when he was a kid, when he was playing for Man United, and he was walking around the training ground with a Coke, and it was actually Ryan that told him, you don't fucking drink. They're basically saying, you don't drink that here, you don't. I made a big thing out of it, and he's obviously took it on board, because what he did yesterday with the Coke, and then when he scores the goals, and he just keeps on doing it, and it's just a marvel, and we just got to enjoy him while he's here, because you don't see these type of players. They just don't come around every year. They're special players.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, it's not just how good he is; it's the age he's at now to still be able to perform at the level that he is, and be in the shape he is. Which, like you say, that's the thing for kids and everyone to be looking at.
Yeah, it's clean living, and he's a professional footballer, and he's got a professional team that he plays probably $1 million, $1.5 million for, to look after him, massage, nutrition. So you've got, he's all in with it all, but he's reaping the rewards at 36. He's Adonis, so that's what you want. Play as long as you can, and at the highest level as you can, and he probably go to his 40. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him in the next Euros.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I said before the tournament started to Andy and like everyone watching, I said I thought he was going to have a good tournament, because I felt like it was probably the last national tournament that we'll see him at. So he'll want to go out with a bang, and he's got something to prove where people are saying he's past it, etc., etc. I think the one thing is, you're right, because he keeps himself in such phenomenal shape. You wouldn't be surprised if he comes back like in the World Cup or whatever, and at age 38.
Because, like I say, he's got people looking after him, his well-being, his health. He's just a freak, and he's a freak as well. So, yeah, he's going to play to his 40, no problem. You look at Tom Brady in the NFL. He's 44. All right, it's a different kind of sport, but he looks after himself as well. And if you look after yourself, you can play as long as you want.
100%. It's a bit interesting. Portugal got a couple of other good players, haven't they? Let's not be. I think it's not everything is on him. If Portugal are to do well,
defense is really good. They've got obviously Bruno Fernandes, and they've got some other players that Jota obviously didn't have a great game, but Jota's a decent. They've got some decent players. Portugal.
Yeah, Renato Sanchez
there or thereabouts as well.
Yeah, I just think they're one of those teams who will kind of like they'll just scrape out wins quietly, and before you know it, they'll be in the semi-finals, and they'll all be good and whatnot. In terms of so I want to go back to Wales just briefly. With Wales now, is it? Do you think they should be looking at it from a point of view of shall we try and finish first or second, or is it literally just get through and you get who you get?
You've got to look after your best players. So Kiefer Moore shouldn't really play if he run his heart out and he looked knackered at the end. So you probably give him a little rest, and you just probably rotate it and trust the players. They're still international players. So, yeah, you can't, and give the other lads a runabout. So you're through. Like I say, you've got to keep an eye on the game today, the Switzerland and Italy game, and see what happens there. Because if Switzerland win, then Italy are going to need to really win against Wales, because they only got 3 points, and means us and Switzerland will be on 4. So you've got to see what the result comes today, and then just take it from there, really. But I really do, especially after he kept the same team from the first game. He's got to give him a rest.
That was brave, I thought, to keep the same team, because I think he could have easily bowed to, there was a lot of pressure on social media and media to bring in Ampadu and Nico Williams and like you said earlier, everyone's a football manager, and everyone was putting out there what they think they should do.
And as you're a manager and you're in a camp, you don't hear all that outside noise. So you just tunnel vision, what you can see, what your best players are, and you just go from there. He's obviously felt, they played well. I'm going to go with them again, all the same 11, and it's worked out. But next game he's probably going to change it a bit, because like I say, we're through to the next round, and the game after it is more important than the Italian game.
Yeah, 100%. So
you don't say you played the same team, and Bale got booked, Kiefer Moore got booked.
It's a problem, isn't it?
People are like, what the fuck is what's the manager doing?
No, you're right, mate. Yeah. So here's a question for you. Just quickly, Andy's he's gonna stay out for the last 20 minutes. He said he didn't want to disrupt the show and just having connection issues. But I'm gonna get on to StreamYard and stuff and try and work out what's going on, because haven't happened.
Sometimes it does that with me.
It's just weird.
Every now and again, it just crackles, and just Wi-Fi, isn't it?
Yes, there we are. There are a couple of questions I want to put to you, though, from the live chat. GD Parry says, for Rhodri, would you give Ruben Colwell a chance versus Italy?
Yes.
It's a big ask, that, isn't it? He's so young. I haven't even played much for Cardiff.
Yeah, but he's got to get experience, mate, and it's the perfect time to get him in. It's a dead rubber game with through, and it's great experience for him. So yes, I would throw him in.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, like when you look at England took Theo Walcott, didn't they, when he was like 16, and then they never played him. And it was almost what was the point?
Exactly. What you're taking for then is just a waste of space. You've got to, give him the experience. This is the perfect opportunity. It's like a friendly, it doesn't really matter, but it's quality opposition, and see how he matches up. And then you can chat kind of, if we need him to come off the bench in the knockout game, then you know what he's made of, and he's confident to do that. So I would definitely give, what are you bringing him for if you're not going to give him any minutes. So he's obviously good enough to be in the squad. So I'd stick him in.
Yeah, young players as well. You just never know like how they're going to react and perform.
Well,
You look at the likes of Rashford and Greenwood over recent years for United. Ryan, obviously, he came in at 17. There's all sorts of people who they have been chucked in at the deep end, very young, and have gone on, and really not just gone on and had good careers, but in those early games have done well. So what we'll do is, because obviously Andy's not here, so I'll throw a couple of questions at you from the live chat and stuff. James Costley says, do you support Cardiff City?
Yes.
I knew the answer to that already because we discussed it before, but there we go. Donna also says, are you still involved in football?
I'm just finishing I'm doing badges at the Welsh FA, actually. So yeah, I am, yeah.
Good stuff. So
I did a badges at the Welsh FA, not the English FA.
That's the way. I like it. But there was another question I was going to throw to you. I can't find it. It's gone. In terms of tonight's game, I'm just looking at the teams. Looks like Italy have pretty much gone with, or they've made one change right back. Di Lorenzo's come in for Florenzi. I was really, really impressed with Spinazzola in their first game. I thought he was phenomenal. Like, the likes of Insignia and Immobile, Jorginho, they're well-known players, but Spinazzola was fairly, unknown, and I thought he was probably the standout performer for the whole first round of games, really.
Well, when I was watching the game, there's one thing come to mind, thinking, the work rate that the Italians that they put in, and Spinazzola was spearheading that. So, yeah, it was. They looked really good, and Mancini's. I know from being at Manchester City how good of a coach he is, and how disciplined and how well drilled the defence and how they to defend. But it seems to be good going forward as well. So I think they'll be the kind of dark horses then of the tournament, because everyone's talking about the big teams, France, Belgium, and I think Italy are like a real good, well-oiled team.
Yeah, definitely a threat. And I think, like you said, before the tournament, no one was talking about them. It was almost like they were, just kind of written off as not going to do that great.
Team that on cable just go 1-0, 1-0, 1-0.
Yeah, in my opinion, they got the best keeper in the tournament, and he's only young. And obviously, they got the two experienced centre backs who have been probably the best defenders in Europe for the last 15 years. So
you can't go wrong with them too.
No, absolutely not. Cade says, "Who's your favourite ever Welsh footballer?"
Ooh.
I can say mine. So I'll say mine is Mark Hughes. Loved him growing up. Sparky, he was just my hero.
Yeah, no, I would probably go the other one. I would probably go in Rush. Yeah, I'd probably go in Rush.
Good shout, mate. Good shout. I look back and like that era of when I was growing up with the likes of Saunders and Rush and Mark Hughes and and you go on then and Ryan and Craig Bellamy and people come in. Like, it's almost quite gutting that a lot of those footballers didn't get to play at a national tournament for Wales. And when you go even further back, like Neville Southall, John Charles, people like that. And it shows what a big achievement it has been for Wales to get there, not just once, but to do it again.
Yeah, that's why you've got to give credit to, the previous manager before, because, he did turn it round, brought young players in, give them experience, and that had to be done. You're talking about the Slovakian team, how they've done that. Well, Wales have done the same. Yes, they've got Ramsey and Bale and a couple of experienced world-class players, but you had to bring the young lads through as well, and previous manager did that, and Robert Page is reaping the rewards from it. So we had to be done, and that's the problem we probably had back in them. They were all old. Think of the back four. Was it Eric Young, Kevin Ratcliffe, Bowden? There was no young players coming through.
No.
So yeah, it was you can never forget Gary Speed for what he did, because he started it off by getting by starting that team and getting that team into Euro 16 through Gary Coleman did. It was the
belief that Gary Speed started, wasn't it?
So. That's probably the problem we had back in them days. We never had no young players. We never had a large squad. It was always probably the 11 was all right, but then after that, it was crap. So, and it's been for a long time over the last 7-8 years. But when Gary Speed took over, really, he's kind of changed that. But when Ryan come in, he had to get rid of some of the old players and bring the youth players in. And you reap the awards from that now. When he did that 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think the worst period was when Vinnie Jones was Welsh captain. I think that was a particularly dark period.
But, my God, stop.
Can't forget that one. But obviously...
That's Bobby Gold for that.
Oh, yeah.
Vinnie Jones is about as Welsh as I am Chinese.
Yeah, it was embarrassing, mate. Honestly, it was. It's one of my least favourite Welsh memories, I got to say. Richard Evans says Dan James has had an outstanding tournament so far, and he's another one who hasn't played loads for Man United this year.
No, they haven't, but that's a good thing. It's a good thing and a bad thing, because they need to get games, they need to get in. But they're fresh for the tournament. Dan James has got a lot of energy. You like it when he's being brought off at 10 minutes and 10 minutes to go and he's kicking off. I love that, because you don't want to be happy to come off. So. Yeah, and he's come on and he's done really well again today. So, I'm still sitting on the fence because I see him play at Man United week in, week out when he does play. So he's still a lot more to come from him. He just needs to keep them performances up, and he can only get better, because pace scares people to death, and he's got them.
Absolutely. I think with him as well, I'm hoping that United don't cut ties with him. I'm hoping that if they're anything, they send him out on loan, because he hasn't had much luck with United. But they're going to have to make room for new signings, and I still believe that he's good enough and quick enough and skillful enough to progress at United.
It looks like for him that Ollie likes him. So if he keeps the work rate and keeps doing the right things, then I don't think he'll be going on loan. I think if he's going to leave, they'll get rid of him. But I see him at least getting another year.
Absolutely. So we're going to finish up a little bit early tonight, just because of the connection issues and stuff, and I want to get on to StreamYard and find out what on earth's going on. But obviously, Rhodri, you're coming back with us for a couple of shows throughout the tournament. Looking forward to that. And Andy will be with us, and we'll have the connection issues sorted. But just off, how far do you see Wales going?
Well, who's the potential they can get in the next round, potentially?
Let's have a look.
Do you know?
I haven't looked purposely, because I was so nervous today.
If they come second, they're playing in Amsterdam, and if they come first, they're playing in Wembley.
Playing in Wembley. So we are Group A, aren't we?
It's Group B, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry. No, Group A.
No.
We play Group B. So if you so you've got Finland, Belgium, Russia, Denmark.
That's it. So it'd be either Belgium or someone else.
And Russia, I think, looked half tidy, better than they did in the last tournament. So if we get second, we'd get Russia.
Once you get into the last 32, it doesn't really matter. They're all going to be good teams, and we didn't have problem beating Belgium last tournament. So
absolutely. Yeah, and plus Russia will want revenge on us, won't they? Because we beat them comfortably in the last Euros. It's going to be very, very interesting. Guys, drop a like and subscribe and everything, all that good stuff. You can find all the social media and stuff in the description. Apologies for the connection issues. Unfortunately, we're at the hands of technology and Wi-Fi, which it is what it is. But I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back Friday, and also Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week.
When am I on?
I think it's
Wednesday.
I can't remember if it's next Wednesday or it's the Wednesday after. But I'll double check, mate. But Rhodri's joining us for a few shows. David Giles is joining us as well for a few shows. So we'll have lots to talk about as the tournament progresses. But in the meantime, we were just enjoying Wales pretty much qualifying for the next round. Let's not curse it. But let's see how the Italy-Switzerland game goes. Guys, thanks all for watching. Spread the word. And we'll be back Friday, 7 o'clock. Rhodri, cheers for joining us, mate.
Cheers,
Appreciate
pal.
it.
Cheers, mate.
Where's the thing? Got to find the clip, Simon. Come on.
Mark a new beginning. We are the ones of the spoken word. We are the ones who keep the planet spinning. And yes, one day we will rule the world. We